So you'll have heard my talk on standout selling and what we can do differently to give ourselves more chance of winning the work more often. In this video, I want to give you 7 tips that you can use for yourself and your sales teams to start to take advantage of what I talked about and be able to bring in more business more often. So let's look at these 7 tips in turn. The first thing we can do is to make sure we stand out early in the process. And the earlier in the process we stand out, the better. So start to think about what you can do and your team to stand out early in the process. Remember, once you get to late in the process, whether looking for quotes or just looking around at a few different vendors, they've already defined the criteria and they've probably also already got their favourite, and it probably isn't you. So think about what can you do to stand out early in the process before to get to that point where they define the specification, because then it's probably too late for you to influence their specification and what they want, and too late for you to influence them to become the favourite. So look at what you can do differently to influence them early in the process that you're the provider of choice, to get them to want to work with you, and that makes your whole sales process much easier. Another thing to look at is how we can influence their research. Because we know they're going to look at you and your organisation and the individual people involved, so let's make sure that what they see backs up what we say face to face or over the phone and gives you the best chance of success. So where people generally research these days is online. So have a look at your company website. Does that give the right reflection of you and your products and services? Have you got video on there that engages like this one is doing with yourself and potential viewers? Have you got testimonials and credibility that backs up things you've said to them previously? Think about your own LinkedIn profile and those of your sales team, possibly even your production team or anyone else associated with this. And make sure those represent what you're looking for them to do, to influence people to be more likely to buy rather than less likely to buy. We know they're going to do that research, so make sure that the research they do shows you and your company in the most positive light possible. Another thing to look at here is to stop doing what your competitors are doing. If you want people to see you as different from your competition, then you have to act, look and behave differently from your competition. So don't do exactly what they're doing. Of course there's things in the market that will work, so making new business calls will always work. So if they're doing that, of course we still want to do that. But in general, the way they operate, the process they go through, if you want to be seen as different, you have to do stuff differently or talk about it differently. If you're having the same conversation with your prospects that the competitors are having with the same prospects, they're going to immediately think, oh, those guys are all the same, so give me your best price. So it now comes down to a price and relationship sale because you've failed to differentiate early enough in the process. If you stop doing what your competitors do, there's more chance of them seeing you as different, appreciating the value that you can bring, and therefore give you the best chance to influence them. And my 4th tip is to make sure that you and your team don't fall into the 3-question trap. As a reminder, the 3-question trap is 3 questions that you will ask, that your competitors will ask, that their competitors will ask, that their competitors will ask. So it results in the buyer thinking, oh, all these guys are the same. This is going to be a deal based on your best price. And of course, a relationship. To avoid that happening, stop falling into the 3-question trap. The 3-question trap, which is normally asked in the first 2 or 3 minutes of a call or a meeting. An example for recruitment would be, have you got any vacancies at the moment? When are you next recruiting? And what fee do you pay your current agency? In mobile phones, a 3-question trap would be, how many handsets do you need? What network are you on? And when's your contract up for renewal? In printing, the 3-question trap would be, how many leaflets do you need? Printed one side or both? 2-colour or full colour? Those questions are so common in your industry, you're asking them, all your competitors are asking them, and again, it means you've failed to differentiate, so it's now a price and relationship-led sale. If you're not the existing provider here, that becomes a massive problem because you're already not favourite and unlikely to win the business. So make sure you and your team don't fall into the 3-question trap. It's vital in any market to focus on new business, but in the market we're in now and moving into, it's even more important. New business is usually the thing that the typical or average salesperson likes doing the least, yet it's the most important. As human beings, we generally try and avoid, or we tend to avoid, the things we view as most painful. And because there's rejection associated with new business and cold calling in particular, therefore we and our teams tend to avoid it. Focusing on new business, setting up times for new business, and having a new business thrust within your team and your company will bring fantastic results. And if you want consistent sales figures, therefore you need consistent prospecting and consistent new business generation. There's no bigger reason than that to focus on new business. Another thing to look at is how you and your organisation can get into favourite position more often. How you can influence people early in the sales process, as I mentioned before. How you can get people to take your ideas, to be seen as a trusted advisor using the questioning strategies that I talked about in my talk. Thinking about how they view you. Are you in favourite position? What do you need to do to get there? How can you influence them to be more likely to buy from you? How can you give more credibility and trust? Look at your LinkedIn testimonials. Look on your website for testimonials or video testimonials in particular. If you can get to favourite positions so they want to work with you, the rest of the sales process is much easier. If you're fighting against someone else in favourite position, now you better be the sales superstar, the best in the world. Brilliant at objection handling, fantastic at negotiation, amazing at asking questions, and the best closer in the world. Otherwise, you've got far less chance of winning the business. And tip number 7 is to focus on the development of yourself and your sales team. Never before is the focus on winning business more than it is now. So it's vital that you and your sales team have the skills to succeed. Whether it's skills from yourself over coaching, managing and motivating that team, because if you're in charge of them, that's by nature your role, or whether it's you or your sales team that need better skills in terms of objection handling, negotiating, closing, cold calling, investing in them, whether it's time with you with them, time with one of your managers with them, or bringing somebody in like myself to work with them, it's really important they get that continual development. Sales training is unlike most other types of training. It's something that should be done continuously to get the best development. It's not like trying to understand how do I calculate a formula in Microsoft Excel. How do I calculate that formula for a spreadsheet? You learn that once, you know how to do it. Sales training should be developmental. So it's something done on a continuous basis, so it's continually raising the motivation levels and the abilities of your team. So you can get this information on the web, for example, my blog that has my best articles on. If you're connected on LinkedIn, you'll have also seen those as well. It might be you've got some support in-house, you're able to give some, or your manager's able to give some. Perhaps you've even got a full-time sales coach, or perhaps you need to look outside for someone like myself to come in and work with the team. It's really important you do that motivation and the continued development of your team if you want your team and your sales to be the best in the industry. If you want to turn out a team of sales winners, you need to look at the development of yourself and your team for sales success going forward. So now you've heard my 7 tips on putting into practice what I talked about in my standout selling speech. It's important you go and put those into action with your team to learn how you can get yourself into favourite position and be the standout provider of choice in your market. Once you can do that, the sales results and financial results follow quickly afterwards. So put them into practice and you will see the sales results. If you want to stay in touch with me, catch me over LinkedIn or through my site at andypreston.com. I look forward to hearing about the results you and your team get going forwards.